All right, over the hill, through the woods to grandmother's house we go. And if you're going to be flying, then listen to this.
Oh yeah, you may want to hold off on wrapping those gifts if you plan on taking any gifts. That may be a waste of time if you do so. Our News 13's David Romero is live.
Yeah, he's live at the airport in Albuquerque with more. I'm going to take it from here.
Okay,
Elizabeth.
go for it. I'm interested.
It's a Matt Morrow Friday. David, what's going on out there? What are some tips for folks?
Airport, gas station, it's all the same. We're outdoors. That's all the bottom line that matters here, Matt and Elizabeth. And of course, that is one good key piece of advice, that you shouldn't wrap those gifts because, you know, it's going to be one more step that you're going to have to take at the airport, and that's a key piece of advice that airport officials say if you avoid that, it'll help you get through the airport faster and help prevent any problems. Now, first off, the best piece of advice really is to get, of course, to the airport early enough so that you give yourself enough time to park and get through security, especially if you're not familiar with the TSA rules of travel. Then, as Matt and Elizabeth mentioned, you should leave any gifts you're planning on taking with you unwrapped. If the TSA officials need to take a look at the item, the last thing you want to do is for have them tear off the paper that you wrapped it with. Now, if you're not sure about what you can take or rather not take on board with you, the TSA has set up a question and answer table outside the screening area. Airport officials believe all these tips will help travelers get to where they're going without any issue.
A little bit different from Thanksgiving in that it's a little bit more spread out. So while it is very busy, it's very steady, it's not a big rush of travelers at one time. So things are moving very smoothly.
And we also asked Dan Hidon over at the airport if they are seeing a lot of heavy traffic through there this year. He said it's pretty comparable to last year and in years past. The thing with airport travel during the holiday season now for Christmas time is that it's kind of hit and miss. You really never know when those peak times are going to be because everybody's off at different times and they all travel at those odd hours and odd days. Back to you.
All right, the best advice, Mr. Romero, this morning you gave it. Just get there early and bring your patience with you. It's the best gift of all. We'll check back in with you in a half hour. Then we'll talk about those gas prices behind you, and they are getting lower and lower. That is good news. The other good news is that the weather, well, at least here in New Mexico, it's good.
Yeah, here in New Mexico, but if you're flying out maybe to the other parts of the country, I mean, there's a lot to look out for.
Yeah,
Problems.
flights out from Albuquerque should be okay, but if you're going to a certain destination, that could be your problem.
Actually, hold that thought for just 1 second. I did just check. Chicago flights are delayed this morning, and also one to and from Denver is canceled. Just check that on the Sunport's website. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, well, a big reason for that Chicago problem is the fact that we have that storm system that came through here a couple of days ago. That is now barreling through the Midwest and into the East Coast, so that is a huge problem there. We'll go ahead and take a closer look at that storm where they are just seeing quite a bit of shower activity through New York State into the Northeast into New England, and we continue with the snowfall on the back end of this system through Indiana, Ohio, and into Michigan as well. So if you're having flights into any of these destinations today, those could be some problem spots, so get ready for a few delays and maybe even a couple of cancellations there. Over the Pacific Northwest, we're watching our next storm system that will be moving into our direction. This one already bringing a little bit of snow as you move up to Washington State, into Oregon and Northern California as well. So that is going to cause maybe a few issues, maybe not so many cancellations, but possibly a few delays as you make your way up to the Pacific Northwest if you have a flight heading up there today. Good news is we are looking at lots of sunshine for the metro, so you won't have many problems as far as that some ports ends, but you will have problems on the East Coast and on the West Coast for your destinations. More details on this storm moving into our direction coming up in just a little bit.
All right, John, thank you. In other news this morning, we are learning more about a list of Albuquerque police officers who could be on their way to getting in a whole lot of trouble.
All right, right now, a total of 55 officers are on this list, and its goal is to prevent more problems before they go ahead and start. Now, this list is technically called the Early Intervention System, or EIS, and recently the city changed how officers get on it. This includes if they use force 3 times or more in just 1 year. And once officers get on the list, they stay on it, usually for about a year, and they get extra training and supervision.
We've had a lot of success in identifying some of those people that have higher than normal instances and taking the corrective action and making sure that they're doing the best thing that they can.
A couple of officers on the list right now include Victor Grosete, he shot at a man who shot at him first back in 2009. And there's Connor Rice, who was recently charged with battery, accused of using his taser too much on a man he was arresting. Well, the man who police say got away after a big SWAT standoff in Albuquerque earlier this week won't be getting out of jail anytime soon because He's not allowed to have a bond right now. Investigators say this man, Chris Sosa, would not come out of a home near Candelaria and Wantabo for hours on Monday, then stole a car from the garage and sped off, nearly hitting an officer. Then about 12:30 yesterday morning, police found Sosa and finally arrested him after yet another SWAT standoff.
An arrest warrant is now out for the man police believe is responsible for 2 pharmacy holdups in Santa Fe. And that man, we have learned, is a former cop and wife of a prosecutor in Santa Fe. Police say William Smith walked into the Wiley Chemist Pharmacy in Santa Fe Monday, pulling out a gun and demanding oxycodone. District Attorney Spence Pacheco tells us that a call was made by Smith's wife, Assistant DA Dory Bigananti Smith. Investigators say she saw the surveillance pictures of her husband on TV and called police. She says that she hasn't seen him since. Now, the suspect, William Smith, seen here, was hired by the Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Department back in 2011, but was asked to resign a month later for reasons unknown. Now, he was also a deputy out in South Carolina prior to that. The New Mexico State Police will be welcoming 30 new police officers to the force. The officers had to complete a 22-week training course and 1,100 hours of curriculum studies. A graduation ceremony will be held at 9 a.m. over at James Little Theater in Santa Fe.
All right, take a look at this woman because Albuquerque police are hoping that you can help find her. She is missing. Her name is Laura Jones here, and she was last seen 8 days ago at the bus stop on 1st and Central Northwest. She is 5'4", 139 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. If you've seen her, you know where she might be. Please call police. A drunk driver who admits she drank, get this, at least 19 beers before she got into a crash that killed 3 people 7 years ago is still fighting her prison time today.
And this is even after she pled guilty to causing that crash. Camille Lenti had a 3rd sentencing in U.S. District Court yesterday and got another 16 years behind bars. Now, Lenti pleaded guilty to 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of assault, admitting that she had been drinking and using marijuana. She was first sentenced to 18 years back in 2006, but appealed and got 16 years and appealed again. Now, Bruce Murillo's 12-year-old son was one of 3 people killed in the December 2005 crash. Anthony Romero also lost a son.
What's really frustrating is that this is the 3rd time that we've been here, and the defense indicates that they intend to appeal again.
The 3rd person killed in the crash was the driver's passenger. Now, Judge William Johnson will once again hear Camille Lenti's objections to her sentences on January 11th.